Hello, I'm Noel. This is Antonia from Boxtail Soup. And we are actually taking a break this week. We are having a week off. So that's why we look exactly the same as we did in the previous vlog, because we're actually recording this ahead of time. Meanwhile, we're taking a rest somewhere.
In the sunshine.
Yes.
But
exactly.
hopefully where there's actually a pool that we can jump into when we're this hot and refresh ourselves.
I'd just settle for a lie down for 5 days. That would be great.
Oh, I know, absolutely.
So,
I'm tired.
Yes. So, what we thought we'd do this week is there was a comment on one of the videos, a couple of videos ago, just asking us what our inspiration was. And while it's a little bit of a difficult question to answer, we thought we would have a go at it now while we're having a week off. So we just try and briefly answer what it is that inspires us when we're
try and be
creating work.
succinct. It's difficult when you're this hot.
Yes.
We divided it into 3 categories, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
So the first one is perhaps a little bit obvious, but one of the main things that inspires us is the text that we're working from. So we adapt literature mainly, and when we start off, obviously we read the book that we want to adapt. We then read around that. So if it's Jane Austen, when we did the Jane Austen, we read other Jane Austen. I mean, I've read them all. You read a couple of.
Yeah, well, it's a good point though, because
additional
I
ones.
hadn't read much at all. You know, I was vaguely aware of a couple of the stories, Pride and Prejudice, but I didn't really know Jane Austen at all when we came to adapt it first. So yeah, I did then read a lot more of it.
And then when we did the M.R. James, we read all of his ghost stories, Grimm's, all the Grimm's tales, etc. So we make sure that we absorb ourselves in that person's world, and then we are inspired by it. So we're inspired by the actual words on the page of the particular book that we're adapting from, but we're also inspired by the personality, I would think it's safe to say, of the author.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the way that you put it before, when we were discussing it, to say that you want the author to be able to come and see the show, if that were possible, and be happy with the adaptation that you've done.
Yes, while they might not agree with all the theatrical choices we might have made, that they would agree that we have captured the essence of their story.
Well, we treat it with respect.
And treated it with respect. That's the main thing. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it sounds a little bit obvious, but because we kind of constantly go back to that source material, and it's not just a story that we use, we also are inspired by the sense of atmosphere, the voice of the author, the feel of the piece. Or we just lost one of the lights. Sorry about that. Yeah, everything around it, everything around the sense and the feel of the story that we're adapting, we try and use for inspiration.
Sorry, distracted me with the light. The second thing, second sort of category, as it were, is theatrical inspiration, I suppose. So inspiration from theatrical productions.
Yeah.
I guess. And when we first started out, there were certain things that we'd seen in the past that we were inspired by. I really like the opening of The Woman in Black, which is very simple. It's just 2 actors. They have a basket. They sit on it and they pretend it's a carriage, but they create so much atmosphere with just the 2 of them and his imagined little dog, which is beautiful. Then things like Nihai's Brief Encounter, that was a wonderful production that definitely inspired some of the things that we then decided we wanted to do. Street theatre.
Yeah, street theatre was a big inspiration in the beginning, because I was a street performer for a long time, and partly because my own show comes out of a relatively small case. It's very simple. There's not much in terms of props and stuff, and yet it turns into without blowing my own trumpet, it turns into a large show that will hold an audience for 45 minutes. And there are other wonderful shows out there that are far more theatrical than my own, that create an incredible, that really literally transform that space on the street into a magical space, into a theatre for that time that show is going on. So we took inspiration from that in the beginning, because we wanted to be able to kind of turn up with a trunk and create this whole world out of it in that same way. So that was a big inspiration.
Other theatre that has that sort of simple, magical quality, I suppose, that there's a production called Bane that was at Edinburgh. One actor,
Joe
one
Whitebone,
musician,
and I can't remember the musician's name.
Guitarist,
sadly.
amazing. And the 2 of them together
That was
just conjured
brilliant.
up this whole film noir and it was so atmospheric. It's one of the most atmospheric things I've ever watched, and yet it was only 2 people creating this magic. It wasn't even any set or anything. It's beautiful. So I think that sort of creation of a world and a cohesive style really inspires us generally.
Yeah, it's actually really, I find it really, really difficult to pick out individual pieces of theatre, because often it's not specifically a company or necessarily even the whole thing. Even though you will enjoy a show, it'll be particular moments or particular things about the style of the design or the way something's performed that you really take away with you and think, that was great, I love that particularly. So,
and then finally, our sort of third category was, was it like everything else?
Yeah, the third category is literally everything else. I mean, obviously we take inspiration from other forms of media that we watch and listen to. The films are, of course, big inspiration, and we often, when we're working on something new or when we're in rehearsal, we'll often say, oh, if this were a film, how would we do this? Or how would we approach this? Or how would we get from one scene to the next? And
particularly helps us with very big pictures or big moments where you're having to, I don't know, travel suddenly, across the seas in a boat, or like in Gulliver, we had lots of those big moments.
Yeah.
And it helps you not limit yourself.
And also, in a funny way, it maybe makes you think in a slightly more cinematic fashion. So you do sort of think in terms of, oh, well, you'd zoom right in at this moment.
Yes, exactly. Let's
Is
have
there
a
a way we
close-up.
can do that
Yeah.
theatrically or
Yeah.
physically?
Exactly.
So
Which is often really, really helpful, especially when you get stuck. Music is a massive inspiration. When we're working on a new show, we've said this before, I think, but we tend to listen to a lot of, we'll say, oh, this particular track, I really like the feel and the atmosphere that this creates. And then we'll try and build a playlist of tracks that are the kind of feel like the world we want to create.
And I find that actually my taste is skewed in the rest of my life by what show we're working on.
That's true, actually.
You end up listening to more music that fits into this particular vein.
And watching things that are in the vein of what you're
Yeah.
adapting. And definitely, I think that happens. And you were saying earlier that when you are working, when you're in the midst of working, especially on the beginnings of the design and the creation of a show, we tend to be inspired by literally everything and anything. I mean, you sort of live and breathe it, don't you, for a while? So
Yeah.
be sat in a restaurant and a lamp will...
Yeah, exactly.
Make you think.
It's constantly in the back of your mind. So while we're working and casting the runes, all of the time in the back of your mind, you have those ideas bubbling away for the show. So you could be anywhere doing anything. The way that some pancakes are sitting on your plate will make you think of it. Literally, something as silly as that will suddenly give you an idea. And actually, we're quite good now either telling each other or making a note of it immediately, so that you do, capitalize on all of that stuff.
So
there you
in
go.
a nutshell, that's what inspires us, I think.
Everything.
Everything.
Very helpful, I know.
If you are enjoying the vlogs, please do give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, subscribe to the channel. Welcome to the new subscribers. And also, don't forget to check out our calendar on the website. All the autumn dates are on there. There will be more added soon. They may have actually been added by this point that this vlog goes out. I don't even know. But just keep your eyes peeled.
Yep. Oh, the Muppets.
The Muppets are a great
forget the
inspiration.
Muppets.
Don't
Labyrinth.
forget the Muppets.
Oh.
Oh, and Labyrinth. Yeah, there you go. Some other inspiration.
So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.